During Writer's Workshop, especially at the beginning of the year, my students' biggest problem was getting started. And then I would hear, I don't know what to write about. My solution was to give my kiddos strategies to come up with topics using interactive writing. And today I'm going to show you how to take your close reading passages and turn them into an interactive writing activity. If close reading is something that you're interested in learning more about, there is a free guide to teaching close reading to younger students, and you can get it with the link in the descriptions below. Now, before we get started, we need to talk a little bit about what's the difference between Writer's Workshop and interactive writing. I could do a whole video just based on interactive writing alone. I could do a whole series of videos based on interactive writing. But for now, there is a blog on the Teaching Firsties page. You can go check that out, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do an interactive writing lesson and what you'll need for it. But what you do need to know is Writer's Workshop is where your students are writing independently, and you're modeling, and you're going around and conferencing with your students and then sharing at the end. Interactive writing is different in that you have a chart paper and marker, and your students are coming up and they're doing the writing with you. For example, if you're teaching some kind of spelling skill like final blends, you would write the beginning of the word. They would come up and do the important part, what your focus is on, which is the blends. So if you're trying to write the word desk, you would write the D and the E, and they'd come up and finish the blend. And that's what you're focusing on. And that's why interactive writing is different than Writer's Workshop. Interactive writing is great for beginning readers and writers because you're showing them what to write. You're giving them a topic to write about, so that takes the pressure off of them. You're also giving them confidence because you are right there helping them every step of the way. You are giving them assistance, but you are not doing it for them. You are there to help and to guide them, and what they're going to be able to do is then take that topic and write more about it and give more details, and that's going to make them very successful when they're writing. It's also great because it can be about anything remotely close to your topic. You can go completely off script here when you're doing interactive writing based on your close reading passage. For example, you can take a familiar word and you can do a making words activity. Or you can write a fictional story based on the same character's setting and problem and solution, the same story elements. I really liked teaching interactive writing. It was our chance to be creative. My students were motivated to do it because they knew they'd get a chance to come up and write on my chart. So it was just a really fun activity for us to do. Now, you can teach interactive writing alone. It can be a standalone lesson, but it is also really beneficial as far as your time and energy to combine close reading and interactive writing and use the topic from your close reading passage to teach an interactive writing activity, because then you are teaching both things at once and you're only doing one lesson at a time. You're still looking at the structure of your close reading passage, and you're teaching them valuable writing skills about it. So here's what I do to take our close reading activity and turn it into an interactive writing activity. The first thing to do is look at the skills you can review. When I'm planning for close reading, I look over my text passage and I decide what we'll focus on. Look for some skills in your text passage that you can review. If you recall from the video on comprehension and close reading, we were talking about questions you can ask your students that will get you more than a one-word answer. Questions like how and why. Take those questions and see if you can come up with some topic that you can use for your writing activity. One example from the last video was taking a nonfiction piece and looking at facts or asking, why did this happen? Well, now you can take that question, and for your interactive writing, you can write a list of things that you figured out or a list of facts that you learned. Or take that idea and write sentences for cause and effect. You can write sentences about the fact, about the topic that you learned, or here's the great part, it doesn't even have to be about the main idea of your close reading passage. If your goal is to teach them to use cause and effect, not only when they're reading, but also when they're writing, you can write cause and effect sentences on your chart. Because remember, you want to look beyond the words on the page. You want them then to be able to apply that skill. Your interactive writing introduction could look something like this. Do you remember from our close reading passage about erosion that a flood causes soil to wash away? And so today during interactive writing, we're going to learn about some other things that cause something to happen. Now I'm going to write the first part and you're going to come up and you're going to fill in the rest. Now, in this case, our goal for our kiddos is to have a deeper understanding of cause and effect, and we want them to be able to apply it to their own lives. You can make these much more simple, such as, I carried a very full glass of water and I wasn't looking where I was going. And then your students would come up and write, I spilled the water. Or I left my car window open and there was a blizzard. And then they can come up and write, my car was filled with snow. Can you see how this extends their learning beyond that one passage? And it's something that they understand and they know about because it's in their context. That was an idea to focus on reading strategies, but here's another idea. Interactive writing is a great way to practice making lists and practice list writing. I love making lists. I think in a past life, I was a scribe who followed around a king and wrote everything down. I really do. Okay, well, I really don't think that, but you can see how I would like that job. I guess now you're getting to know my eccentricities. Anyway, first graders don't know how to write lists. We're not born with that skill. We can do it. We can categorize our list. If we're going to the grocery store, I might make a list for the grocery store, and then if I have other errands to run, I might write a different list. First graders need to learn how to categorize that information and make a list, and then also decide what's important to put on that list. So some great lists for your passages might be a list of characters, or practice your story elements, all the characters or even the character traits. You can make a list of characters and then a separate list of their character traits. You can do sequential lists that tell the story in order. You can also do things in the passage that you visualized when you're reading, and that way you're practicing the skill of visualization. Or you can do compare and contrast. If there are two things that are similar or different, you can make a list of the things that are the same and the things that are different. So making lists is a really good way to pull out that reading skill and then just to categorize your information. And don't forget, you can choose any form of writing that you'd like. You can write a letter to the main character, or my personal favorite, if the passage involves food or snacks, write a recipe, telling you how to make that food. We talked a lot about vocabulary development during close reading. You can take those words, if you haven't already, throughout the week and make silly sentences with them now. Or come up with an expository, a how-to piece based on what's in your text. Of course, when you're done, you're going to really want to reread your passage and build that hype and tell your students how very proud you are of how much they've learned and how good a job they did, not only on today's writing assignment, but also throughout the week. And you're so excited that they learned the topic of the close reading passage. I usually would hang this in the hallway because they always liked that. I would talk that up too. Other students are going to see that. They're going to know how much you learned and see what a good job you did. The kindergarten kids are going to walk by and they're going to be so impressed. You're the big kids. They're going to see what you learned today, and they're going to be excited to come into first grade. It just helps them build that excitement about it. The more you showcase their writing, the more pride they're going to take in it. And they're going to see, yes, I can write about a topic, instead of just sitting there going, I don't know what to write about. So during your next close reading lessons, make sure you do some element of interactive writing. It's a great way to show your students how to take a topic and write about it, and it's going to build a lot of confidence and show you what they've learned along the way. If you'd like more close reading tips, right here on YouTube, we have a whole playlist of close reading strategies. You can check that out. Make sure you subscribe to us so that way you can go back and see it. Thanks for watching. I really would appreciate it if you clicked like. If this was helpful, YouTube will do its thing and push it out to teachers just like you. And I will see you next time with another video on close reading.